Good evening, everyone. Yay! Okay, welcome to Navigator Night Out. Also, thank you to our band Stringology. They will be back. That's the good news. Yay! My name is Lynn Turwarts. I'm the new board president as of this past April, so my size 6 feet have been walking around in slightly bigger shoes of late. But I'm honored to be here, and I'm honored to be both a leader and a servant to this organization. So I'd like to begin by acknowledging the hard work of those who made this night possible. Table captains, would you please stand or raise your hand? Jake Beatty and Jean Scarborough, Karen Krause, Maureen Huff, Cindy Finney, Peter and Glenda Gearloffs, Jean and Evgeny Gusev, Bruce Jones, David and Alice King, Len Goldstein, Lynn Marlowe, and Jack and Carol McCreary, Chris Morris, and Earl Rena Merman, Kelly and Steve Oliver, Katie Oman and Kevin Frary, Leanne Shirato, and John and Catherine Simpson, Stephen Streufert, and Lisa Foisey. Thank you very much, table captains. We also have other board members here. I think I saw Alex and others, so other board members, raise your hand. Hello, colleagues. Thank you. Thank you. Many of you don't know because it looks like we planned this, but actually we first planned to be indoors. And the staff at the Maritime Center pulled off a minor miracle by taking an indoor event and within a few days making this an outdoor event. As you all know, CDC guidance and health concerns are pretty ever-changing these days. So I really want to make sure that I recognize Len, Katie Oman, Stephen Streufert, Christina Vernick, Angela Hewitson, of course Jake, Peter Santerre, Chris Hartley, and Chrissy McLean. These guys pulled out a major miracle here. It's no small feat, especially when it looks like we planned it this way. Yay. Our speakers tonight, I want to thank them. They're going to share some very compelling stories of powerful maritime experiences. Also, hey, thank you. Those beautiful cupcakes that you see were made by Rowan Santerre, an alumna of the Girls Boat Project. So, our good. There are many volunteers here that you see, and also those that you don't see that have also done a lot of work, gave their time and effort and their talent to this. And of course, last but not least, thank you to all of you for being here, for believing in us, in our mission, this organization, and the difference that we're able to make in this community. So, what to expect for this evening here? I trust that all of you have gotten a bite to eat. The bar will remain open until 9 p.m., I've been told, and we'll have music. And we will have a series of speakers who will come and talk to us. But before I hand the mic over to Jake, I want to just share a few thoughts about this organization, our past, and our future. As many of you know, we have suffered a very profound loss very recently in the passing of Stan Cummings, our former executive director, who came here in 2007 and led this organization during our capital campaign and the construction of the buildings. The Northwest Maritime Center will hold a celebration of life on August the 19th at 7 p.m. I want to encourage all of you to join Sigrid, family, and friends in honoring Stan and all that he has contributed to our community and other communities as well, and to maritime education. And right here, right now, I would like all of us just to have a moment of silence in honor of Stan. Thank you. I appreciate that. One of the things that attracted me to the board 6 years ago was a strong commitment to resiliency, because it's resiliency that ensures that what we build here stays. Just as Stan was a tremendously effective leader during our initial startup and construction, so too have there been leaders on the board whose long-standing service allowed us to be what we are today. And their continued presence provides the continuity that we're going to need to move forward. So I am very pleased today to announce the Steve Oliver and Chris Morris Award for Leadership and Service. Steve and Chris, please stand up. Please stand up. Stay standing, you guys. Half of the people here at this Navigator Night Out, this is their first Navigator event. So I want to make sure they see your beautiful faces and they know what you've done for this organization. They will be the first recipients of this award for their amazing and long-standing service to this organization, Steve as board president, Chris as vice president. It is through their stewardship and governance that the Northwest Maritime Center raised money, paid off loans, established risk management practices that allow us to have a race to Alaska, a board reserve, put succession planning and resiliency in place. I am a byproduct of that. Thank you very much. And that's just naming a few things. That takes leadership. It takes courage. In addition, they created a collegial board atmosphere where strong personalities could have opinions and disagree and still come to consensus. Steve and Chris spent many years of selfless service to this organization and to our community and continue to do so. I am honored to be able to let you know about this award. We will name the 2 maritime meeting rooms after the Steve Oliver and Chris Morris Award for Leadership and Service. And because of the resiliency that you helped to build here, we're going to have to put a history of your contributions on that plaque because the future generations who do not know us or you need to know what it is that you've contributed to this organization. So, thank you. Thank you. And so finally, in the spirit of resiliency and continuity, I also want to recognize that Jake has been with us for 10 years. Congratulations, Jake, from the board, from the staff, from all of us. It has gone by so fast, and we're looking forward to many more years. I also want to let you know that the board has a gift certificate for you for a getaway at Semiahmoo. All right. Well, my job is done, and I'm going to hand this over to Jake. Oh, we are. Oh.
This is the highly scripted part.
Yes. There we go. Yes. Thank you, Jake.
That was unexpected. Thank you, everyone. I'm just going to wait for something to boot up, so talk amongst yourselves for about 15 seconds. Okay, good. We're done. I just want to say hi. How nice to see you all. We're all here together. That's unusual. It's for all the old friends here, it's so good to see you in person. For all the people I haven't met yet, after a year of paranoid seclusion, I'm oddly excited to see you as well. Thanks for coming. To honor those people, how many people here, show of hands, how many is this your first Maritime Center fundraiser event? Fantastic! Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here because I'm also going to use all of you as an excuse to tell a little bit more about how this organization works, what all we do, because I'm pretty sure that even if you've been here for a very long time, you might not know everything about how this place works, what we all do, because It's a lot. I've said it before, and it's still true today, that the hardest part of my jobs for 10 years is answering the question, and I'm deer in the headlights every single time someone asks me, so what does the Maritime Center do? Okay, show of hands, is anyone here have the perfect 50-word explanation of what we do that is so compelling that it will inspire your hearts and heads and checkbooks to support this place?
Give me 20 grand, I'll do it.
Don't have it. Jock, that's whatever I say. That might be the 20 grand. That's good. He's getting yours. So despite my Owen Ted record on this, I decided to try. I'm an optimist. So here it goes. In the broadest sense, the Northwest Maritime Center engages people in the powerful experiences of the sea with the intent of making them stronger people, connecting them and their communities to the blue parts of the map, and using that activity to authentically address the larger issues of our world. Doodah. That's about as close as I've ever gotten to getting it right, so thanks for that. The next 50 years is harder because we do a lot, and if I just read the list, it's way more than 50 words, but I'm going to do it. We put on a wooden boat festival. It's where we started 45 festivals ago. It's the biggest one in North America. It's super fun, and it means a lot for like uplifting and showing a showcase on the amazing maritime trades that, for me, define this town. We're a community center for people like rowing or just hanging out on the beach or getting coffee or witnessing the amazing skills that happen in our boat shop. We give classes in boat building. We're a sailing school. We do professional training for mariners of all kinds. We operate a reuse and recycling store. We have a retail store to support like on-the-water adventures. We're an official branch of the county library system, a maritime branch. You can come and check out books. We do adventure races like the Race to Alaska, Washington 360, and 7048. Weirdly, we also own a magazine. We publish 48 Degrees North that distributes to 20,000 people every month between Vancouver, BC, and Portland, Oregon. We do a lot, right? That's a lot. And we probably miss some stuff. And the other thing that makes us weird is we do all that. All of those things operate kind of like business units to support the stuff that I hope you're here to support too. Is that community spirit, the youth programs, the summer camps, our work with adjudicated youth, the school programs. And there are a lot of school programs. Some of them are broad, week-long programs for students here in town and across the Puget Sound and up and down the inland waters as part of Salish Sea Expeditions, which is now part of the Maritime Center. Some of them are really deep and ongoing, like the Girls Boat Project or the Bravo Team, or work with adjudicated youth. Real World Readiness is the name of that program. And then the Port Townsend Maritime Academy, a high school program year-round, half-day here. And then in this new maritime high school we're helping to start in Seattle, we're working to export all the good stuff we do here to help get something cool started down there. That's amazing, right? It's a lot. And that effort about connecting and really I love about a month ago. Because of that project, the Maritime Center now has waivers and a lot of forms, not just in English, but in Spanish and Vietnamese and Somali. Super cool. Because we're trying to make it accessible. We have a touchstone phrase around here, and that's the sea is the most powerful teacher we know. Everything we do is designed to get people one experience further into those real world, saltwater in your face, value forming, crucible moments. Where you stare your limits in the eye. Man, I always do this. Is it when timing? Is this my personal best or my worst? And you grow. In those moments, those are the moments when you grow. And all of our programs do that. Everything we do is designed for, from the Wooden Boat Festival to the Race to Alaska, it's about engaging, educating, and celebrating those moments. And as a former instructor, I'm addicted to those moments. Watching someone's, there we go again. So watching the light bulb go on, it's why I get up in the morning. The sea teaches many things, but in addition to all the academic subjects we can mine for, I think it's particularly suited for teaching humility, adaptability, curiosity, resolve, courage, and when we pay attention, equity. So that, as much as we have one, that's kind of the stump speech. at least in a normal year? Okay, show of hands. Who's had a normal year? This last year, or what I have come to think of as the decade since 2019, it's been tragic. I know there are people here who have lost loved ones to the pandemic, and I know there are people here who have lost loved ones, and it's been harder because of the pandemic. I don't want to make light of that. Laughter is totally my stress response. But I want to make space for us to, be all of us together. I think the community that I want to be a part of and we try to create here is you can be you. And we can be the many parts of you at the same time. And I want to be in fellowship with all of you, and I think we need to make space for laughter and grief. And anyway, that's what my intention here. It's been a year. It's been a hard year. If you need a moment right now, just take a moment, kind of breathe into the year. For the Maritime Center, and at least from my chair, the year's been hard. It's been a little bit of I think about it like a death yo-yo. Pre-pandemic, January, we were soaring. We had 50 rock star staff members all hitting on all cylinders. We had big plans. By mid-March, we were down to about 12. All of us working less than half-time. Some of us was like 6 hours a week. We didn't know how long things would be bad, how bad they would get. We didn't know if we'd make it at all. I've literally been in ships sinking at sea, up to my armpits in salt water in the engine room, trying to rebuild pumps so we wouldn't go under. And I've never felt more helpless than last year, staring 50 people in the eye and telling them, I had to lay off. Through no fault of your own, you no longer have a job. That was rough. And in my most beleaguered moments, I was like, am I up for this? I just spent 10 years building this place alongside all these people. Do I have it in me to do it again? How long is this going to be? What's on the other side? Do I have it in me? It turns out, while the Maritime Center excels at many things, sitting in idle and paralysis isn't one of them. We're very bad at that. And after about a day and a half of self-pity, we kind of rolled up our sleeves and got back into it. And in the 10 years since last summer, we grabbed that pendulum of activity and swung it back from dead stop to like full motion. We were back in action pretty fast. First, we scrambled to adapt and to innovate. We put on a virtual festival, which, despite my preconceptions, was actually pretty cool. It worked. It was not the regular festival. It was great. We did virtual programs for navigation. We actually had a really high enrollment for getting people stuff to do online. And Joel back there built over 20 boats over Zoom with people in their living room across the country. Super cool. So Canada was closed, so we canceled the race to Alaska, but we just invented the Washington 360. We'll do what we can do. We'll just do a lap around Washington. And that was great. Hundreds of people were in that. Thousands of people watched online. It was fantastic. Schools were closed. Well, that was actually a bigger issue because we do a lot of work with schools and with no one gathering. But what we could do, and part of that was we hosted the Port Townsend Maritime Academy, a half day every year, every day, year-round program, and what I learned was that it was the only program in the entire state that had uninterrupted in-person instruction because we did it outside. We did it outside right there from September to May, including like the middle of January when these poor kids are like rebuilding outboards in the rain. Like that's character building. Like that's character building that would wilt the greatest generation, right? Sorry, did I offend anyone? There was so much we couldn't do, though. We spent a lot of the year focusing on the future because the future was a place we could actually do work. So we planned about what to do next. And I want to focus on three bigger than normal projects for us. And the first one was securing, thanks to a very generous donor, we secured the new flagship instructional vessel that really is going to be the fulfillment of two very long-held aspirations of this organization. One was to create a second boat for sailor sea expeditions to really increase the amount of marine science we could do up and down the Sound. We're going to do that. It's going to be the supporting classroom for the Maritime High School down in Seattle. And the other thing we wanted to do, I wanted to get more access to get people out on this bay. So in the summers, it's going to be here and as an excursion vessel, and we're going to employ the students of the Maritime High School into their first maritime jobs working this boat. It's going to be really cool. And Joel, I didn't even say the name Admiral Jack. That's the boat. The boat's on the screen. It's fantastic. The second big project is us spreading our wings and moving in to help a maritime high school get off the ground. And this is a really special high school. It's not just designed to provide very compelling education, but to help address systemic racism by increasing opportunity, here we go again, for the communities of color that reside literally next door to a maritime industry that so far they've only really had the negative downstream effects of. Demonstrating, putting a fine point on that one, in the 5,000 maritime jobs that exist in a 5-mile radius from the South Park neighborhood, 96% of them are held by white people. The Highline School District, the sponsorship school district of the high school, has 78% students of color. The layers of injustice in that truth take longer than we have to unpack, but it's part of a national conversation. But I'm really happy that we get to make a hopeful dent in that we get to be a participant in righting some historic wrongs and doing our bit. So I am immensely proud of our involvement there. Closer to home, we've realized we're going to need more space, which is, I remember being here 10 years ago and like, this is too big. I was wrong on many things. So we worked to secure some new space we've needed both across the street. And you might have heard we have a 30-year lease on the vacant land across the street. And we've just worked and we're moving towards, and knock on wood, assuming everything goes well, we'll be the owners of the Swan Hotel by the end of the year. Both of these are going to give us room to grow, and at least in the short term, the business of the Swan is already fueling big new stuff for us. So we're going to continue to operating as a hotel, and it's unlocking some really cool opportunities. My favorite now term example is that because of this bundling of lodging and our simulator, okay, I forgot to tell you we have a simulator. In that list of things we do, we have a simulator on the 3rd floor, and we train mariners all kinds up there. So having this together, we're actually on the short list to host as a maritime training center for a global tugboat company, be their West Coast Maritime Training Center. It could be really cool. The apex fulfillment of what we've always hoped for that space, and when I think about our responsibility to our community here, I think about the off-season, call it Port Townsend GDP. Like, it will be a significant impact. So the proposal's due tomorrow. That's what I'm doing after this event. So send good vibes into the universe in whatever way you want to do that. I'm going to pause here. I started by saying we're complicated. And if one of you would have walked up to me in the last fundraiser in 2019 and told me that my remarks tonight would include how we're coping with the global pandemic, and that somehow I would need to convince you that starting a high school and buying a hotel were part of the same unified strategy, I'm honestly not sure if I'd have laughed or cried, but knowing me, it'd be one of the two, right? It's been a year and it's been a lot, but it's been a lot of change, a ton of change, but a few things have remained constant in this maelstrom of horrible of the last little bit of time. We're still here. The Maritime Center's still here. We're still thriving. We're still striving and making a difference. And despite, and partially in part because of everything of the last 18 months, as an organization, we are better now than we were. We are. And for that, I want to say thank you. Because for you, whatever your role is here, whether you're a board, staff, volunteer, donor, soon-to-be donor, the Maritime Center truly is a community-driven organization. And for whatever role you played in getting us through and then launching us forward, I just want to say thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'm probably over time, but it's not a good, every good executive director always wants to wrap up with focusing on a thing, or in my case, two things. So here are mine. I just laid out the complicated Maritime Center multiverse of impact and innovation. Trademark that. It's a good one. But I'm stuck with two of the 1,000 points of light that really stuck out to me. The first thing, I think, at least in some cases, bumper stickers are true. And I'm not talking about the Port Townsend weirdo flag of we're all here because we're not all there. Not that one. But like the same car though, like 2 bumper stickers down, there's think globally, act locally. And it really struck me because we have this record now of building off of community-based programs and parlaying those into audacious regional goals. And I think that's really cool. I get proud about that even in small towns that are 20 miles from the right turn off the road to nowhere, and apologies to Port Angeles. This is a place where homegrown local innovations can be created, iterated, then leveraged into regional solutions. And I hope you're as proud of that as I am. What we've done here, what we're doing here are making a difference here for the students and business you're going to hear from in just a second. And in very tangible ways, they're parts of a bigger set of solutions, and that's cool. The second thing is that all of this is related. And I essentially just told you that hotels and high schools are the same thing. And a lot of you nodded. In my defense, a lot of you nodded. But for those of you who didn't, I'm going to invite you to wade in and embrace the complicated, because the relationship between the things we do is real, and it might just be our secret ingredient. By embracing a spectrum of experiences and activities, we create pathways of experience for individuals, and those pathways create stronger communities and sometimes communities unto themselves. Far better than I can express, you're going to hear tonight not just about the tear-jerking individual experience of some incredible young people, but if you listen between the lines, you're going to hear how our secret ingredient, that interconnectedness, complexity is working. Yes, it does make my most basic job of talking about this place incredibly frustrating. But it's the progressions of experience that really struck out in all these presentations about our speakers. The connections across geography, the connections between program experience, life experiences, generations, how one powerful experience leads to the next and the next and the next and creates this multiplier effect of impact that could never be imagined or engineered by one of those single experiences. It's that everything that really is the power of this place. And it comes from being an organization that is impossible to distill into a tweet or to package into a 10-minute set of remarks. Apologies to Len. And now, being definitely over time, I'm going to invite you all to let that complexity fade away. Seek shelter if necessary. And then just get ready to focus on some incredible speakers. They're going to be speaking about their experiences here. The first one I'm going to introduce now, Amelia Ramsey. There's Amelia, there she is, she's over there. Amelia has taken many of the steps on that pathway I was talking about. She's been a student and a teaching assistant for the Girls Boat Project, a summer camp assistant, a 7th grader in our Maritime Discovery Program, and a multi-year member of the Bravo team class, a year-long program with the Ocean Alternative Learning Program. She's a swimmer, a viola player, and a poet. And the kind of person who will remind you to stop and look at the clouds or to listen to the waves lapping against the Lapstrake Hall. Anyway, Amelia.
Good evening. My name is Amelia. I am 17 and I'm a junior at Ocean K through 12 and Port Townsend High School. I'm so happy to be here with you tonight and share a bit about my story. Sorry, that's a little bit low. Oh gosh. Okay. I've always been a highly sensitive person. At 4 years old, my preschool teacher asked me to go to the blackboard and write the letter G. I was pretty sure I knew how, but the thought of making a mistake terrified me. Everyone was cheering me on, but I still just stood there gripped by the fear of embarrassment. I was frozen, and eventually I burst into tears and was allowed to return to my carpet square. Though I was otherwise a very happy child, my sensitive nature sometimes lets me feel, my sensitive nature sometimes led me to feel extreme turmoil and sorrow like this when faced with a personal challenge. My family would always tell me that it was okay to not know how to do something, but I just didn't see it that way. I was afraid of what I didn't know and what I might not be able to be capable of. As I progressed through elementary school, I found it hard to make connections with my peers. I was always thinking about things that others didn't seem to, like the stars in the sky, and it made me feel like I was weird and I wouldn't fit in. I became more and more introverted, and my family even noticed that my voice grew softer. By 6th grade, I was retreating more and more within myself and actually becoming depressed. Middle school was chaotic, and my sensitivity to emotional experiences of others made it very hard to focus. At the same time, my lack of confidence and fear of challenge made participating in the classroom really difficult. That following summer, I participated in my first Northwest Maritime Center activity, the Girls Boat Project, a program designed for 5th to 8th grade girls to sail and row, study the marine environment and maritime trades, and build wooden boats. Ingrained in my mind is a memory of my first week, the image of myself working alongside Christy McLean somewhere in the crowd. Building a wooden bevel gauge, and I forgot to bring mine tonight, but this is what it looks like. I remember feeling inspired and excited. I realized that I could do these new things and I could do them in a community. Over the next year in the Girls Boat Project, my self-confidence grew. Being at the Maritime Center felt like a breath of fresh air away from school. The depression I'd felt seemed to lift when I was there, and it became a source of true happiness for me. At the same time, I participated in the Blue Heron 7th grade week-long maritime program. It felt so good to see other students feeling happy and accomplished at the end of the week as we launched the wooden rowboat that we had built. Despite what any of us were going through elsewhere in our lives, this was something we could all connect on and feel good about together. After 7th grade, my mom and I decided together that we would reimagine my education. The contrast between how I felt at school versus how I felt at the Maritime Center helped us to know that my depression was situational and that change was possible. So I left the traditional classroom and I enrolled in Ocean, an alternative learning school run by the district. Ocean made me a partner in management of my own education, which has reduced my stress. But even more important, that's allowed me the freedom to focus on myself and pursue the maritime activities that expand my world. As I continued in the Girls Boat Project, I also joined Bravo Team, Ocean's Maritime Center program at the center, engaging in maritime activities alongside my peers, my teacher, and the Maritime Center mentors I've grown close to, created this feeling of total connectedness for me that I'd never felt outside of my home. Our teamwork made me so happy and relaxed, and it encouraged me to step further away from my fears and develop leadership skills. The first time that I took the responsibility of being lead oar on one of the longboats, it was incredibly exciting. I felt like I'd unlocked a part of myself that I'd never reached before, and I knew I could expand upon it. That summer, before 9th grade, I spent 2 weeks sailing in the San Juan Islands on the 60-foot 4-yawl Orion with a group of students from all around the world, none of whom I'd ever met. I felt nervous, insecure, yet joyful jumping aboard. I saw it as a steep challenge. I knew my supportive community back home at the center had prepared me for it, but I didn't but I didn't realize just how well they prepared me and how capable I was until I was on the boat. I experienced so many things during those weeks, and I gained a new level of confidence and skill. At the time of the COVID outbreak, I was in my second year of Bravo Team and my first year as a teacher's assistant for the Girls Boat Project. I was developing leadership skills, and I found a louder voice. Being in quarantine for 15 months, I felt myself withdrawing inward more and more. Online classes didn't help because, as you know, we can talk very softly on Zoom and everyone can still hear us. My motivation was low because I felt lost without my community. When I finally returned to Bravo Team, we went out on our longboat and I was elected by my peers to be the coxswain. Activating my loud, outside, in-charge voice felt like a rebirth. Yeah. These programs and these mentors have had a powerful effect on the lives of young people. When I go forth into the larger world someday, I will bring with me the knowledge of self that I couldn't have imagined 4 years ago. I know now just how capable I am, and I welcome change. In closing, I would like to share a poem I wrote in 2019. I can sail with the wakes and the mountains, undefined existence surrounding me, but at the same time, not. My movements are partially my questions, but do they get answered? Maybe. There's all the beautiful scenery surrounding me, blues and greens and whites and browns. It calls for me, this world I am hugged by. Thank you.
Amelia, I play the viola. I was always second chair to someone like you. His idea was to make guacamole green. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today about Sea Marine's experience with one of the Maritime Center's programs, the Maritime Center's Real World Readiness Program. This is a maritime-focused education and employment training initiative. It's for juvenile offenders. The purpose is to head off the possibility of reoffending by opening the different life path possibilities. The RWR program, in the RWR program, youth work both independently and as a team on wood boats, learning maintenance and repair. In the process, they're connected with paid job internships in the community, along with critical adult mentorship. I want to share with you today a bit about Rigel. Rigel's a recent graduate of the RWR program. Rigel's past is unknown to me, mainly because I've never asked. I do understand his road has been a hard one in its almost 18 years. He now rides the bus from Quilcene every day and gets to work on time. That's the past that matters to me. I was introduced to Rigel through my participation in the mock interview process as part of the RWR curriculum. Rigel stood out for his straightforward responses, a blunt and frank sense of honesty, and an almost unnerving eye contact. Somebody must have taught him that eye contact was important. Sonia and her crew should know that Rigel was listening. He was inspired to take advantage of what the Maritime Center and its sponsors were offering. Now he has aspirations and goals. For all those reasons, the mock interview turned out to be anything but practice. Rigel now works full-time at Sea Marine with the goal of learning all facets of the business. This ranges from lift operations to mechanical and electrical repair. He's very interested in welding, and we will support that educational process. This past week, he found himself dressed like Darth Vader, only he was in a Tyvek suit and a full-face respirator. It was to remove an unwanted black water tank. That's the polite way of saying exactly what you imagine it to be. He did it with a great attitude and a smile on his face. He was earning the respect of his coworkers. I have become personally and emotionally invested in this process, more so than I thought I would. Rigel has made mistakes, and he will make more. I know that'll cost us money, and we understand that's part and parcel to the learning and the development of talent. I want to acknowledge and thank the community members who have supported the Maritime Center's Real World Readiness Program, some of whom are with us here tonight. I understand our own table captains, John and Catherine, are such donors, and thank you. Through your generosity, young people like Rigel can find a different path in life. Collectively, and collectively, we are all the better for it. Programs like this are important to the marine trades. It's a graying workforce. I'm Exhibit A. We need new blood to fill the ranks and to keep this business segment healthy and thriving. Now I would have closed with thank you, but something unexpected tonight. Rigel's listening to this. Rigel, come on. I truly did not know Rigel was going to be here. I saw him, and he deserves this. This is what it's about.
So I wasn't supposed to be up here again, but I just had to introduce our next speaker. If you know anything about the events we do, 7048 is a human-powered, non-stop supported or self-supported boat race from Tacoma here. We started at 7, or we start in the evening. So if you're going to be hardcore, you're going to start in the evening and then row all night. A certain kind of hardcore person even thinks this is a fun idea. Fewer people actually raise their hand and do it. Akela Barenfeld has not just done it once, she's done it twice. And she also, I want to underscore this because she seems so unassuming, but she did it. Cool. So, Akela, please come up. Everyone welcome her. She's incredible.
Good evening. My name is Akela Barenfeld. I am 14 years old and I participated in 2 of the 70-48 races the Maritime Center has put on. My first race was in 2019 in a 2-man skiff with my dad, and the second race I completed solo in 2021 in a Colin Angus expedition rowboat I built last year. By the time I reached the Southworth Ferry in this year's 70-48 race, I had already rowed an hour and a half in some pretty choppy waters, in the dark, and I didn't know if I wanted to cross to Blake Island if it got any worse. Halfway to Blake, it did get worse, but oddly, by then, I had gained a trust in the boat I had built and found myself to be completely relaxed, not a bit nervous or worried at all. In fact, given the conditions, I actually began to get a little concerned as to why I was not feeling nervous or worried. About a half mile from Restoration Point on the south tip of Bainbridge Island, the large, frequent cresting waves often spilled over my stern, causing my boat to take on water into the cockpit. I could see my dad and his boat continually disappearing and then reappearing between waves, but I was in this really weird state of just rowing and enjoying all the action and getting soaked. I figured that there was nothing I could do about the conditions I was in, so I just enjoyed the darkness, the lights of Seattle, and the wind, never afraid. The decision to attempt the 2019 race all started because I just wanted an adventure. I've had a lot of adventures with my family, like road trips and overseas travel, but now I wanted something that was much different than anything else I had done. I had never done anything like the 70-48 race before, and it sounded really fun. A bonus feature was that the race took place right here in my home waters. At the start of that first race, I was just so excited to be out there doing it. But after finishing, I realized that it was definitely the type of crazy adventure I craved, and decided right then and there that I wanted to do it again the following year, but in my own boat. For some reason, I have an innate desire to try and take anything I do to the next level, to see where it can take me and where my limits might lie. At the starting line of this year's race, even though I had done it before and had developed a knowledge of the course, when that 1-minute warning horn blew, it all of a sudden struck me that, again, I was going to have to row the 70 miles, non-stop, through the night and under deteriorating conditions in my own boat. Right then, questions like, is this really a good idea? And is it too late to turn back to the dock and go home? Entered my mind. But the starting horn blew, and the answer to these questions instantly became a definite yes. So after the crossing to Restoration Point, a heavy rain came and soaked me through. By the time I reached Port Madison, halfway to the finish, I had been battling a southwest wind and some fairly big following seas for hours in the dark. But now my back started to hurt and I became acutely aware of some fairly large blisters developing on the palms of my hands. Again, questions like, why am I doing this? And this is so stupid, and started to pop into my brain. Surfing the big waves was fun. Battling currents and high winds was challenging, but I enjoyed every second of it. The hours I spent sheltered at Matsumatsu Bay were cold and wet, and the row over to Little Oak Bay State Park, back in the dark again, was painful and exhausting. My friends and family cheering me on at the Port Townsend Canal, and rowing that last 5 miles to the finish line in calm water amidst phosphorescent glow was amazing. It was everything an adventure should be. The girl who started this race was not the same girl who crossed the finish line. It forever changed my life the instant that starting horn sounded. Though I was not in control of the wind, the waves, and the rain, I found that I was in control of my direction, my pace, when I ate or pulled over to rest. I was also in control of whether to be fearful or not, when to stop if it became too dangerous to go on. The level of confidence in my navigation and rowing skills, as well as what I can physically endure, has been exponentially ratcheted upward, never to come down again. It has already affected adventures I have participated in since. I am able to rely on other people less and more on myself, and know that I can accomplish greater challenges. I am now considering doing Washington 360 or the race to Alaska at some point in the near future. I think it's important for kids to get outside and do things that aren't necessarily fun all the time, but are physical and require some hard work to prepare for and complete, rather than having other people do it for them or just sitting around waiting for it to happen. I hope my participation in this race has inspired other young people to do things they really want to do. Thank you.
Chris and Akela one more time. Great job. I am Leanne Sherrato, and I am one of the newest members of the Northwest Maritime Center Board. I still need to get used to saying that. You see, I grew up as a brown girl in the middle of the desert. I was a high school dropout, teenage mom, and my younger self never imagined me here. Living in the Northwest, working for the elected body of the Port of Seattle, helping create, of all things, a new maritime high school. And I sure as hell never thought I'd be standing in front of 200 people, about to knock this over, as a board member of a maritime education organization. But here we are. One of the most important lessons I've learned on my journey from the desert to the sea is that our next generation needs to see themselves in the places that their families and their communities have not historically been. Because it's really, really hard to imagine the possibilities if you don't know all that is possible. My family and my community in Arizona never dreamed about boats or the sea. I didn't have a Northwest Maritime Center to show me what was possible. I think I knew someone who had a lake boat that they would go to drink on weekends, but I was never really around boats growing up. The Northwest Maritime Center is what revealed these possibilities to me. And this is what the Northwest Maritime Center does best. It aims to help us imagine what is possible. And it does so by meeting the community right where they are. And having had the privilege of working with folks like Jake and Steven Strupert, I don't know if I said your name right, but Stephanie Burns, who I know isn't here, but I love her, for the past year and a half, I can attest firsthand to their commitment and ability to create new bridges of opportunity for all future mariners, regardless of what they look like or where they come from. From taking on the Swan Hotel right across the street to building a high school across the Sound, in spite of a global pandemic, we are building bridges. We expand people's vision of who they can be. We enable people to see themselves in places they would never have imagined. And you are a big part of this because we need your help to keep on building. So, table captains, please make sure your guests have a pledge form in one hand and a pen in the other. Put that drink down for a minute. Pete Mills at my table, you're my stand-in. Help a girl out and make sure everybody has a pledge form. Now, imagine how incredible it would be to know that your pledge will help the next generation of youth, like Kayla here in Port Townsend, who's the 7048's youngest competitor. And imagine kids along the Duwamish River falling in love with the exact same thing you love, boats in the sea. They could become the first generation mariner or maritime environmentalist. It can happen with the Maritime High School. Imagine your contribution inspiring a lifelong career in maritime. Jobs right in their backyard. Can you imagine? Can you see it? I hope you can. And it doesn't take too much imagination. Some of you who donated last year, and the year before that, and the year before that, helped the rest of us get to where we are today. People who came before us made a contribution, just like I will do, just like I'm asking you to do. Join me and all those who came before us and help the next generation imagine the possibilities that they don't know exist. Now is our turn to inspire others. So earlier this month, a couple of donors approached the Northwest Maritime Center with some ideas and questions about the best way to financially support our mission. Led by John Simpson and the Simpson PSB, we haven't met, but I know you're right over there. By the PSB fund, collectively they have donated around $100,000. And as part of this gift, it is their hope that their generosity is matched by yours. So, now, how great would it be if collectively we matched $100,000? We gotta think big, dream big. I think we can do it. And you've seen your pledge card. Maybe you knew what you were going to give even before you got here. Maybe you want to take the pledge card home and think about it some more. But if you're anything like me, you know if you don't fill that card out here, it's going to end up at the bottom of your purse with gum on it. Or you'll use it to write down a chore list for your kids, because they don't listen. I'm keeping it real here, no pressure, but in either case, whether you fill the card out here or set it in later with gum on it, I hope that after hearing what you've heard tonight, that you'll consider making a personally significant gift, and that you will consider making a multi-year pledge. And if over the past year, QR codes have given you inexplicable joy, I am happy to tell you that on the back of your pledge card and on your table is a QR code that will take you directly to our donation page. We've made it really easy. However you want to make your gift, please think of Amelia, a Kayla, a Rigel, and the countless other young people who will be able to imagine what is possible because of your gift. I should tell you that I had 3 personal goals for my remarks. Try not to swear, because though I've never sailed a boat, I've been known to talk like a sailor. Don't trip on my way up here or on my words, because I've been known to do both. My husband can vouch. So can Pete. And to bring in some generous pledges. So I'm proud to say that I've mostly achieved my first 2 goals. I hope that you all can help me achieve the 3rd. And before I go, let's welcome back Stringology. The bar will be open till 9. I'll be over there in a minute. Or until we run out of drinks, whichever comes first. So grab a drink, take in the views, and please give big. Thank you, Len, and your team for doing an amazing job tonight. Thank you all for joining us.